Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Audit and Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, March the 2nd, 2023. We'll begin by asking our Majority Counsel, Rebecca Kennedy, to take attendance, please.
Sure, Madam Chairwoman. Ms. Willingham?
Present.
Peter?
Here.
Bergdorf?
Here.
Clay?
Here.
Grimm?
Here.
Ray Joyce?
Here.
Lakakis?
Yes.
Mayo?
Here.
And Brewski is excused. 8 present, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll begin.
The first item is approving the previous meeting minutes.
I make a motion for that?
I'll second.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Ms. Lakakis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Item 2 is finalizing the accounting of the 2022 Albany County budget. Comptroller Rizzo is here this evening.
So,
Shucks, my notes.
I love it when we just get this loud. I feel like the Senate. Oh, it's yours.
Yes.
Good evening, Ms. Rizzo.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair and the members of the Audit and Finance Committee. I'm submitting a request to approve 2022 year-end negative lines to balance the budget for 2022 compared to actual. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Madam Chair, if there are no questions, this is what we do at the end of each year. Everything seemed right on point. I'd make a motion to move this.
Second. I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item 3 is authorizing various agreements regarding the New York State Legislative Initiative funding and amending the 2023 Albany County budget. Commissioner Riley is here this evening. Or
Actually, my deputy title is.
Deputy Commissioner.
Hey, good evening, all. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you, Ms. Izzy?
So this is a request to accept funding from New York State through a pot of funds that they make available through every budget cycle called legislative initiative funding. These are member items that state legislators feel are important to the community and are good, I guess, community-facing programs. So the Albany LEAD program applied for some of it, solicited some of it through Legislator McDonald and Assemblymember McDonald, and they were able to successfully get that over the last year. Over the course of the last half of last year, they came up with a game plan on how they'd like to spend this money. So we are here tonight kind of adding that to the 2023 county budget where the Albany County will perform a pass-through role and will be subawarding some of this money to Catholic Charities for case management associated with LEAD, and also to the Public Defenders Association, who's kind of the host or parent agency for project management of the LEAD initiative in Albany. Are there
Thank you
any
very much.
questions?
Thank you, Mr. Officer. Yes, Mr.
I don't
Bergeron.
want to take to ask this question, but with the bankruptcy of the diocese, does Catholic Charities have a separate, is it a separate corporate entity?
Yes.
It is, so they're,
Yep, they're totally different nonprofit organizations,
Okay.
separate tax items.
thank you, I just thought it was important to put that in.
Okay. Thank you. Excellent question.
Yep, great question.
Mhm.
As I don't think we ever really turned down free money, I'd make a motion to move this.
It's not free.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Officer.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you.
Item 4 is amending the 2023 Albany County budget for administrative adjustments. This time is Commissioner Riley.
Madam Chair, so similar to how Comptroller Rizzo just did her administrative adjustments to close out the books for 2022, this is our annual, as we refer to the cleanup RLA. These are things that were either missed in the budgetary cycle for 2023, things that came up after the budget was in front of your body and passed, more things that came up at the beginning of this year. So nothing out of sorts, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions from any members?
Yeah.
Mr. Bergdorf?
I'm sorry. There's a big increase in fees for services for, is this the Hall of Records? I'm not sure, the $149,000 one.
Yeah.
Was that due to the code project?
This is the archive grant. There's an offsetting revenue at the bottom of that sheet. So it's a grant we became aware of after the budget submission.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you. Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, we project how much we're gonna spend in a year, then we actually have to spending.
Yep.
I'm wondering how those numbers, how different with those numbers, when you finally get it all in.
That would actually be more of a question for the comptroller's office because they're the ones closing the books for 2022.
Oh, okay, I should have asked that earlier then. Okay, all right, thanks.
I'm sure that we can work together with the comptroller's office to get you some numbers. as
Yeah, I'm
soon as they're
curious what the
available.
difference is. Yeah. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Okay, yes, Mr. Peter?
I'd make a motion if there are no further questions.
Okay.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Number 5.
Item 5 is adopting a debt policy for Albany County.
So, Madam Chair, we're going to have Mike Wheeler come up as well from the comptroller's office because this is something that we worked on collaboratively. There's Comptroller Rizzo is coming up as well. So the genesis for this was about a year and a half ago. I would say we were on a ratings call doing our annual bond issuance. And the statement was made by the rating agency that one of the few things that we could do to potentially increase our bond rating would be to have a codified debt policy. We started doing some research at the time and found out it wasn't as simple as we would have liked. Over the course of about a year, one of my staff, as well as Mr. Wheeler, went, reviewed different counties in New York State, different municipal governments in New York State, and even had to go to other states. What we have put in front of you is, as far as we can tell, the only debt policy for a county in New York State, north of New York City. It looks like Nassau, Suffolk, and New York City all have their own policies. We'll be the first upstate county to have one. This basically takes, it's not looking to change anything. It's taking existing citations from the charter, general municipal law, other formative documents that we have to abide by, codifying it all into just one centralized document so that everything is kind of together and, for convenience sake, it can be filed as well. As you've seen, the past couple of years, I've brought several policies in front of you, a fund balance policy, an investment policy. So we're just looking to get another formalized policy in place to tighten up our operations.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Peter?
I want to thank you, Commissioner Riley, Comptroller Rizzo, because I think we've done quite a bit in cleaning this up, and I think obviously our bond rating staying steady throughout COVID and only improving has been fantastic by, with your office in conjunction with this body. Much like I sort of did with our reserve policy, I'm going to request that this be tabled for a month, not because I'm not for it, but because I'd like to actually see the comparison to Suffolk County and things of that nature, which you've just started to provide, so I appreciate that. And there's a couple other things that I think, as far as getting some numbers to the legislature at a certain time and putting that into there could be actually helpful for us. Things like what our current debt service level is at a certain time, what our fund balance level is once that happens in mid-April, things like that. Because we've had no issues with your office and no issues with Comptroller Rizzo, but we always worry about the next person, right? And so if there's a couple of those things, I'd like to sit down with you and the Comptroller's office, et cetera, and members of our staff, just to go through the policy and then bring it up next month.
Okay, just so that we can keep it moving though, would it be okay if we set something up kind of in between legislative cycles here?
Yep.
Set up a meeting, okay,
No issue on our end. I think this can move pretty quickly. I think it makes a lot of sense.
good. Because I would definitely like to have this in place before we go out for bonding this year if possible.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Mr. Joyce?
Oh,
And
you
then
should have
Mr.
seconded, Mr. Peter's
Bergeron.
motion to table.
Right.
We need a formal,
I made a motion to table it.
Mhm. Okay, so I got a motion from Mr. Peter to table. I got a second from Mr. Joyce. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
yeah,
You did have a question?
I had a question. You,
Oh, I'm sorry.
having the unique opportunity of having the Commissioner of Management and Budget and the controller here, I wanted to ask two questions, which I think is will be of interest to our members. Number one, in this rate environment, okay, where, the Fed is bumping the prime up by 500 basis points, 5 points. What do the municipal rates look like in 2023 as compared to what they were last year? And number two, I did read with interest last week that the most recent sales tax numbers were available. I read it in an article in the Gazette that gave me Schenectady County, Montgomery County, Schoharie County, and Greene County, but not Albany County. I wonder if you could shed some light on those two things. Where are we with our most recent sales tax receipts, and where are we if we were to go out today to bond for tax exempt bonds?
Can I take sales tax first, just because? Okay, so we will know our final sales tax numbers, I think it's the second Tuesday of April. As soon as we have those, I can push it out to the numbers.
How did the other counties get?
They can make an estimate, but they don't have the true up until the quarter's done.
Second Tuesday in April.
Okay.
First payment.
Yeah, but it's not,
No,
but yeah,
it's not.
like, there's been times, specifically in the past few years during COVID, where things didn't trend as they were up until that final true-up payment, so.
But it-
Just to give you the absolute correct numbers.
It appeared that the other counties were up anywhere from 14 to 23%.
We're in the teens, I know that much offhand.
Okay.
But just to get you the exact of what's gonna be pushed out to the municipalities, that would be the number that
So
we
maybe,
know.
next month, this time, you'd be able to give us a
I can,
report on it.
I can do it before then, interim to staff if you'd
I
like.
think that would be
That'd be great.
very helpful to everybody.
Agreed.
And then in terms of the, you want to take the
Okay,
borrowing?
I'll take the borrowing piece. We actually had a meeting with CMA, our advisors, yesterday, and this topic came up. I think I discussed this the last time I was here when we talked about re-upping the agreement. On that side of the equation, those rates have been much slower in increasing. So the rates are still very, very close to where we were last year at this time. Their increase has been minimal. So even though we are enjoying, the fruits of the investment side going up by the 500 basis points, we're not seeing that on the borrowing side.
Really?
That's been much slower to increase than on the investing side. So we're in pretty good shape. There's really not a concern for that. At this point, it's a very slow moving.
What would you say would be the sort of current floating average?
I think we were talking about in the mid to upper threes, 3.5, 3.8, somewhere in that range, are what they're going out at right now.
And what was our borrowing last year, low threes?
Low threes. Yeah. So it's been relatively flat considering how much
Is it?
it's going up every.
So that's currently below what treasury bonds are going for?
Oh, yeah, much lower, yeah. Treasury bonds or treasury rates are up.
5.5.
Yeah, well, about, depending on the timing of it, between about 4.5 to 5-ish.
Good.
So our interest income, you can see, is up, 4.5%, 4.8%.
Yeah.
So we're definitely investing well our funds while we can until we actually spend them.
Yes, Mr. Mayo.
When did the new bond ratings come out?
We have to request a rating before we issue. So it's not a set calendar.
It's not a set
Just
time.
when you decide?
Do you use one rating agency? Or do you work with one rating agency?
Well, our bonding's competitively bid. CMA is our advisor.
No, but I mean a rating agency.
Oh, like S&P?
Yeah,
Yes.
S&P is
Moody's,
Yes, we use
Fitch.
S&P primarily, yes.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
there
very
are
much.
no other questions or comments? All right.
All right. Item 6 is authorizing cancellation of certain unenforceable delinquent real property tax liens on 217 3rd Street and 219 3rd Street in the city of Albany, and chargeback of the amounts credited in connection with said liens. Mr. McGuire is here this evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Audit Finance Committee. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good. How are
Got a
you?
cold. If you can't hear me, just let me know. I'll try to talk louder.
Okay, start by talking louder, go ahead.
So, Requesting authorization to cancel, well, you know. All right, so the 3-year time limit to use our ordinary correction of error process has expired. So I'm here tonight with a resolution requesting the authorization to cancel and charge back unenforceable delinquent taxes for 217 and 219 3rd Street within the city of Albany. While reviewing the 2002 list of delinquent taxes, it was discovered that taxes were levied against both properties in error. Both properties were purchased by the city of Albany on a deed that was recorded February 28th in 2001. So pursuant to real property tax law, section 406 sub 1, property owned by a municipal corporation within its corporate limits is exempt from taxes. As these properties were owned by Albany, within Albany, should not have been issued taxes. As a matter of law, properties should be exempt. I'm requesting that the legislature adopts a resolution canceling the lien and declaring it as unenforceable pursuant to real property tax law, section 1138 sub 6. If approved, the total amount of $219.36 would be charged back to the city of Albany, and then it would then be, there is two.
Yes, Mr. Kakis? Okay.
I'd make a
Didn't
motion.
we pass something that he didn't have to ask us $200 questions?
So they do when it's past that
It's past,
3-year.
that's what I thought.
Correct. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get a $2,000
Yeah,
correction.
I thought you were allowed to,
Yeah,
if you give him $200.
We went past the 3-year, that's the,
I'd like to make a motion if there's no
Yeah.
further questions.
I'd second that. Well, thank you.
I got a motion from Mr. Crackus, I got a second from Mr. Peter and Mr. Grimm. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much.
Item 7 is authorizing a correction to the tax roll for the town of Colony. Mr. McGuire?
All right. This is similar to one that we had last month. The town has requested a refund of an overpayment of the 2023 property tax bill. Forgive me, sorry, I'm not sure if that's the correct address that I have on my sheet here. This is for Turnpike Housing Company located at 1948 Central Ave in the town of Colony. They paid their property tax bill on January 24th due to a clerical error as defined under real property tax law 550 sub 2 sub D. Mathematical error led to the incorrect computation of a water sewer tax bill that was levied on the 2023 tax bill. The property owner was billed for $3,615.11 of water sewer. They should only have been billed for $1,355.67. I'm requesting legislative approval to authorize a refund in the amount of $2,259.44.
I'd make a motion on this.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter, I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you
Thank
very
you all. Have
much.
a wonderful evening.
Thanks,
Mr.
Mr.
Blair.
Item 8 is authorizing an agreement with No Inc. Innovative Election Solutions regarding the purchase of electronic poll books and ballot printing equipment. Commissioner Bleddy is here this
The
evening.
name, no,
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, how are
Nana,
you doing?
good,
this
how are
evening?
you? Nana Clark's actually going to be presenting this evening. Nana has recently been promoted to the important position of elections administrator for the Democrats. So she's learning procurement practices along with other items, legislative process, so she's going to present this evening and I'll step in to answer questions.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Madam Chairman and honorable legislators. The Board
You're
of
just gonna-
Election,
Did you read the preamble?
Oh, yep, I read
Okay.
it.
yes, the Board of Election is seeking approval of the expenditure of funds associated with the Technology, Innovation, and Resources Grant. Albany County received $314,454 from the state. We are seeking approval to spend the funds on the expansion of our ballot on demand system. Our sole source vendor is No Inc. For the sake of the continuity of operation, we will continue to purchase all our equipment from No Inc.
And this was anticipated in the budget, so it's already there, and it's 100% reimbursable by the state.
All right, so now, how many,
Systems, 50.
50?
Yes, so we received just enough to quote out the system for the addition of peripheral equipment, including ballot printers, cabinets, all the accessories that come with it, and that amounts to about $313,000, which is what the quote that we attached said. And we have about 1,000 left, and I have to figure out which way to go with it. Might be printer drums or some sort of accessory. Ink, yes.
Do I have two hands over here?
Oh,
I
question.
was gonna, I have a question too.
Okay.
Yield to whoever else.
Did you have your hand
I did.
up? Okay, Mr. Joyce.
Whoever came first. Thank you and welcome. So, what exactly are we buying? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around
So
the
you know when you,
equipment.
yeah, so you know when you go to the polling place and for early voting, for example, our system is different. In other words, we have ballot on demand printers. So rather than have the book that was pre-printed like we used to have, it actually, you sign in on the poll pad and then generates the ballot style for your specific district.
Okay.
And so what happens is that if you have a polling place, for example, this is where it's an advantage, okay? So if you have a polling place, for example, where you have multiple election districts, and this year in particular, it's very important because we have local elections this year, right? So we'll have multiple legislative districts, for example, at one polling location. Well, you don't want an inspector, due to human error, to issue the wrong ballot style to a voter. So this actually eliminates that problem by predetermining the voter's actual ballot. So they sign in and it prints out and they get the correct ballot.
Right, so they still have a paper ballot that they can use.
Correct.
Through an optical scan machine.
Correct, it's the
Okay.
same ballot that they would get if we just pre-printed them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Bergdorf?
Yes, you had indicated that this is a single source procurement.
Correct.
And I understand that it has to be to build on to an existing system.
It absolutely has to be for the sake of continuity of operations in the respect that we can't create like alternate elections.
I understand that. How long do these systems and technology last?
Well-
I mean, how long, when do you change them?
Good question. So how long does your printer last, right? There's no determining factor yet. And because it's relatively new, don't forget early voting was first implemented in the general election in 2019. It's 2023. So there are situations where some of our printers have to be replaced because the technology, unfortunately, that's created today is not exactly the finest, right? So parts break down, abuse, whatever, wear and tear, that type of stuff. So we're continually having to replace them. Not to mention we have iPads, right? Which are phased out after a couple of years. The iOS updates no longer take appropriately. So now we're staring at probably the last iOS update that we could do on our existing pads, and we're gonna have to move to a new version.
So we move as evolution moves.
We move as evolution moves, that's exactly right.
Can I just, oh, go ahead, Mr. Grimm. No, no.
Okay, yeah, the sole source concerns me a little bit, because can't they just, don't they have us over a barrel on what they charge us, if that's the only source we have for the vendor?
Potentially, but they're all within the same price range when you look at the different vendors. The problem that we have is we cannot mix up the systems. And in order, if we actually did, we'd have to create alternate systems, and you really can't do that. Because then you can't prevent things like duplicate voting, or wrong ballot styles, or reporting results for elections, okay? They actually attempted to do it on some level with what I call the Frankenstein voting systems, where they bring in one vendor to report your results, another vendor to print the ballots. And in actuality, the counties who did not stay consistent faced some serious issues, and we saw it on election night, not our county, thankfully, because we have one system continuously, and they couldn't report results on election night, and they had to create some, fixes for glitches. And once you start engaging in that level, you really introduce a whole potential of room for errors into your system that you just don't want to engage in.
But if this sole source vendor has some issues with their software, we're in a real pickle, because we're locked into their system.
They do get certified by the state, and there are voting system guidelines that are actually established on the federal level and then handed down to the state. The state has to actually establish their own voting system guidelines as well for certification. So these systems go through extensive process at the State Board of Elections prior to being certified for use in our counties. And believe it or not, elections is a very specific niche, and it's not a very sexy business. So what happens is you don't really have many vendors in the country who actually provide options to states and to counties for purchasing elections equipment. So in New York State, for example, we only have Dominion or we have ES&S. And Dominion was the subject of a lot of controversy. Thank God we're an ES&S county because there was less focus on us because of these issues, okay? Now they're certifying additional voting systems. They have Hardened or Civic, they have a Clear Ballot. So, you know, you have to weigh your options, and as you're aware, we are reaching the end of life for our voting system, and we are going to be exploring additional voting systems. We actually have one in our office right now that we're playing with. It's called the ES&S Excel. And it would actually print a ticket, so to speak, of your choices that you choose on a screen. It produces your options, and then you have to agree to it as a voter. If you don't like your options, then you get to redo it, and if not, then you cast your vote similar to the actual ballot itself.
How helpful is that signature with that sticky pen? Because when I do it, it really.
Extremely, believe it or not, it's actually more accurate than you think it is.
Can they actually check it and say, yeah, that's
Yes.
the signature?
I was skeptical of it.
Yeah, because it doesn't
I
come out
was very
right.
skeptical of it. And actually, we do, if it's not a match, only because a voter doesn't think in terms of the way we do, where we want like a more precise and accurate match of a signature. So sometimes I say, no, you can't just be lazy about it. You've got to take the time and to actually, you know, draw out your signature. So you have an option for the voter to redo the signature if it's not a match. And it's not because necessarily of fraud. Sometimes people go and they go like this. They're not thinking about it in terms of the way we are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Joyce?
Yep, thanks. So I think we talked maybe a few months back, and I did have some concern because I did hear we were looking at new systems. So we should probably stay in the loop on that, because I think must have been 06 or 07, the legislature passed a resolution stating that we require all elections to have paper ballots and op scans for the issues we had with Dominion
Right.
and we saw across the country. So I think we need to address that prior to moving forward.
Without a doubt, and actually, we're not even in the stage of picking yet because the newer systems have not yet been certified, including the Excel that's in our office. So they're still undergoing certification at the state, and nothing's definitive yet. And I think the last time, when we thought they were gonna be certified, we actually brought the machine, and we had invited county legislators a few years ago to test the equipment. We're gonna be doing it again. So you guys can kind of just, you know, go at it, see if you like it or not. And, you know, of course, because we're a partnership in this, and we need, you know, your assistance as well in moving forward.
Thank you. You got a question?
Not a question, just a statement there, which is, I was somewhat skeptical of years back of, you know, the print on demand and sign in and the electronic books. But I'll tell you, over the last 4 or 5 years, as I have voted, I have, it's been carried out professionally, quickly, and with great precision, so keep it up.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we'll be rolling out 50, hopefully, with your approval, 50 more units, and deploy them around the county equally among the municipalities as needed, especially important pieces of equipment, especially this year since we have county legislative races and multiple ballot styles.
All right, so, did anybody extra questions? Okay, I only have a couple. So, we know every election, something breaks, okay? And so, there's one printer, that's a question, excuse me. How many printers?
We're absolutely not going to have one printer at each location. You need to have a minimum of 2, because if something happens to one, you need a backup system on the other one. So, you know, no, we'll have at least 2 at each location.
Oh, okay.
And in some location, depending on population, we've actually increased it to 3 or 4.
Okay, so then my next question is this. What happens if they don't work? As far as being able to print out that ballot? You know, what measures?
We haven't really had that problem because the backup system would go into effect, but we do send additional paper ballots, copies, to the polling place in the event that inspectors need them. And as you're aware, because we are an in-house ballot printing operation, which is a huge advantage to us, at any given moment, we could just print ballots and send them out to deploy them to the polling place. So I don't consider it an issue if maybe just a momentary problem, within minutes it should be resolved.
Okay, very good. That answers my question,
Yeah.
because you know, I have problems at my polling places, so I just, that one.
Well, we
thing just
need to
came
fix that then.
up. All right, do we have, yes, no other questions?
If no other questions, I make the motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Peter, I have a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you,
your-
everyone.
Thank you.
Are we gonna go to retinal scans anytime soon, or
I'm not gonna support that,
facial
sorry.
recognition? Come on.
Yeah, no, I'm not into that, sorry.
I
Okay,
didn't think so.
all right, motion to adjourn,
I'll give this one to Lynn.
motion to adjourn.
Yes, please.
Okay, second, Mr. Graham. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome.